we are in a ditch, no lie.
Hold on. There was a lot of talk about meditation this morning.
Oh, Sean.
Like breathing. And I'm actually starting to get really nervous. So
He has his own version of meditation. I'm sure some of you can
the
relate.
best way.
Sean is what we call a chip it.
Chip it.
I can't stop breathing. I'm really nervous right now.
But you can't just eat one.
I'm starting to be better.
Anyways,
If you guys want some fun.
so this is us in a ditch on the way to our friend's wedding. I was like, oh, that's a good backdrop. Let's take some pictures. So this is our family. We had 4 kids in 5 years. Our oldest is Quentin. He's going to be 15 this week. No, in a month. And then Isabella, she's 13. Roman, standing closest to me in the plaid, looking miserable, is 10. And Alex, Sean's mini-me, is 9. And that's our family. And this is why we do what we do, because we do everything for these children. And this is what our lives look like growing up. Sean's family photo is special.
My sister, if she was here right now, she would rush the stage. She would be like, what are you doing putting that picture up in public?
So Sean looks exactly like his father. His dad's been gone for
7 years.
7 years. And there's a picture of my family. So you grew up in a...
My family, what you see here is a nice picture, but we were ravaged with addiction. All 5 of us. Me and my brother and sister, drug addiction, and my parents both alcohol. And it was chaos, absolute chaos. I swear somebody brought a hand grenade into that household when I was a kid. And it was hard. It was definitely, and this is why we are here today. We're going to talk to you a little about the addiction that I brought into our life and with our children. It's definitely a story of hope now. I've been sober for 9 years. And it was hard, but now we have to share. It's time to share.
And this is my family. So we grew up on a farm. My father was born in Portugal and came over to Canada with his parents when he was 7. And my mom's family was from Holland, so I'm a Dutchagese, which is why I'm so pale with all the dark features. That's my brother Michael. He's about 13 months younger than me, 14 months younger than me. And so we grew up where we just worked really hard all the time, didn't stop, and they still do. So my dad passed away 7.5 months ago, so that's been quite the journey. Grief is an awful thing, so I know a lot of you, probably everybody in some way or another has dealt with it. And it's really hard, challenging, but it definitely is something that changes you, but you can choose whether it's going to change you for the better or the worse. So this was our 3rd date. Sean and I met at the gym. I had just come out of a really, really long relationship, about a 10-year relationship. I wasn't looking for anything serious. He had been sober for about a year, had never really been in a relationship sober. And he looks a little like JT. I'm not gonna lie, I was dating Justin Timberlake, maybe. He's cute. But he was just like the hot guy at the gym, and I just wanted to have some fun. Like, he was supposed to be a one-night stand, and that just didn't happen. So, but we had a really passionate, strong relationship at the beginning, and we fell in love really quickly. We dated for about 2.5 years before we got married. And he was sober the whole time.
I never told her about
how bad it was.
My family's history and my history. She's normal. She drinks like a normal person, and I didn't. And I never.
Meaning, I can have one and stop.
Yeah, and I never told her about any of that stuff. So it's called kind of like taking a hostage, and that's what I did with her initially, and it exploded in a few years after that, right?
Yeah, so we got married. Everything was great. We had our first child, Quinn, in our first year of marriage, and things were going great. But then we started renovating our I think our house was built in the 1870s, so our 18th century farmhouse, and he got hurt. And our doctor, not knowing what his history was, prescribed him medication that literally put him in a downward spiral. You know, me never growing up in a home with addiction, never really knowing anybody that had drug or alcohol addictions, I had no idea what was going on. I just thought he was turning into a jerk. So people think like I was just kind of this stupid girl that was putting up with all this stuff, when in reality I was busy having babies and I had no idea what was going on. So that was really hard because everybody around me kind of did, but nobody said anything. And I remember I just want to give you a bit of a picture, because what you see today, like, he's a completely different person now. When somebody's using and abusing drugs or alcohol, that's not them, it's a disease, they're sick, right? And a lot of you are nodding, so I can tell that you've been affected by alcoholism and drug abuse, or you yourself have suffered from that. And so with the addiction, there's a lot of signs that I know now, but I had no idea. And so I was just trying to do the best I could with what I had and take care of my kids. But I remember my tipping point was Sean's mom was over helping with the kids. We had I forget how many kids at this point.
We had 4.
We had 4 at that point. And Alex was just little. And I remember coming home, like, I think I was still pregnant with him. I remember coming home and my kids were in a little kiddie pool in the backyard all by themselves swimming. My mother-in-law had left without telling me, and he was passed out in the house. And there was no smell of alcohol. He hid it really well. Alcoholics are liars, they're manipulators, they're really good salespeople. And so he's just really good at that. And I got to the point where, like, I just didn't care. I knew I was kind of a mom of 5 at this point. I was just trying to survive. I was lucky if I got to shower every day. I was lucky if I got to eat my meals and, do all the things. 4 kids under the age of 5 it's a lot of work. So I got to the tipping point where I just couldn't do it anymore, and I called his sister and I said, you have to come over and help me because something's going on and I don't know what, but I need help. And so she came over, and that day she took him away. So Alex was 2 weeks old, so just imagine, 2-week-old, 3 little ones, 2 of them still in diapers, so now I've got 3 kids in diapers. I'm not sleeping. My youngest is nursing every hour on the hour. My mom had to come and move in with me. She takes him away. I have no idea if I'm ever going to see him again. And it was crazy. It was scary. He hated me. And I had no idea what I was going to do next.
Trauma.
This is our family. There's some more pictures.
This is our trauma that we went through.
So that was kind of like the starting of the whole upside down journey. But I want to go back to some fun facts about us. Let's bring the laughter back because you guys are all mortified. He used to be a jerk. He's not anymore. Okay, so fun facts. This was the very first time in Sean's life he ever held a baby, and he failed to tell me that when we were dating. Or got married, for that fact. He told me he wanted 7 children. That was great. He told me he wanted to marry me for my childbearing hips. That was great.
I loved him. Still do.
He never officially proposed to me. We decided in the cereal aisle of the grocery store that we were going to get married. And then he tried to propose later, and it just didn't work. So that's all right. It was like a business agreement.
Like she said, we were kids in 5 years. I do not recommend that to anybody. I don't recommend that. It's difficult.
So we had 3 kids in diapers at one time, and we changed diapers for 8 consecutive years. And I remember the day that they were out of diapers, we literally were jumping up and down. It was so awesome.
So much shit for 8 years.
And we kept all of our kids' genders a surprise because you don't get too many great surprises in life, so we did that. So the picture, there's Sean holding Quinton, and then I'm pregnant with Roman in the top right, that black and white photo. In the bottom photo, I'm pregnant with Alex, and you can see how thin Sean was. So he was using there, and I had no idea. I knew I was miserable, but on the outside, don't we look perfect? Everything looks great. I was dying inside. I hated my life. I hated myself. I cried myself to sleep every night. But we had to do the photos. Had to do the photos with the smiles. And then the next photo up in the top left is when Sean had come back from rehab. So he was gone for a month, and it was a hard transition getting him back, but we had a lot of help from a lot of great people. So it was just nice to have our family back together. We took those photos. And then this photo on the bottom, we're actually really happy in that bottom photo on the left. That was last year. This is our family farm, and that barn, I have so many wonderful memories, so we try to take pictures back there so that, you know, it creates good memories for us.
So we are gonna just say that little disclaimer here. We are not therapists. We are not counselors. We cannot tell you what to do. We can only share with you what the two of us have been through. You want to come and talk to us after about this stuff? Please do. Right? Do not take what we say as gospel.
So if we tell you something that worked for us and you try and it doesn't work, it's not my fault. That's the disclaimer. It's kind of what we say about oils, right? So I know a lot of you probably don't even know who we are, but we are platinum leaders in Young Living essential oils. So I found Young Living about 6 years ago. Sean thought I was crazy, that I was a witch doctor. Ladies, hardest sell of my life. It took 3 years to get this man to even try an oil. 4 years. Okay, we got some hard sells.
Snake oil.
But Young Living has literally changed our life, and our best friends are in this company. It is what inspired us to have a better marriage. It saved our marriage. It has helped us become better people. And what we're doing now, talking to you on stage, I dreamt of doing this 10 years ago, and I never actually thought it would become a reality. So I love that Young Living can be the vehicle to help you get to what you want in life and what your goals are, because you can help so many people in so many ways. And it's crazy to think it all started with a really good smelling oil. So my gateway oil was Stress Away. You guys like Stress Away? Yeah. It used to come in the starter kits in Canada back in the day. All right, so we are going to just share with you 10 strategies, tips, tools that we've used along the years that have worked really, really well for us. And if you have never been affected by what we have been affected by, and you're going through other stuff, because we all have stuff, I think everything we're talking about will make sense in kind of any aspect of whatever you're going through. So step number 1 is you have to make a decision to want to be better, to make a change. So I think for me, it was like I just couldn't deal with having 5 kids anymore. I was tired of where our life was going, and so I kicked him out. And I didn't know if I was going to see him again. All I knew is that I had to take care of me, and I had to take care of our kids in order to just feel sane again.
And I was okay with being kicked out of the house. When I was sitting in detox, I'm sitting there and I know I don't want to talk to her anymore, and I don't want to talk to anybody in my family anymore. I had to make a hard decision. Do I want to keep going the life I'm living, trying to keep getting my fix, or do I want to try and get rid of this demon that's been on my back since I was a kid? Right? And I had to make that hard choice. And it's easy to make the decision. The hard work is now. What am I going to do next? Follow it up with some hard work, you know? And pain has a funny way of making you go in directions you will not go.
How many times did you make that decision, though?
Oh, probably 25.
Yeah.
I made that decision to stop drinking, stop drugging. I quit for a year, 9 months at a time. I just could never stay stopped.
Yeah.
I struggled with staying stopped.
I think you get to a point where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and then you just, make that decision. So we love fitness. We did a Baywatch photo shoot. I also competed in, just because I love fitness and it was a bucket list, I competed in a fitness competition. Solely used Young Living supplements and won first place. So just because my trainer at the time was like, you can't use that stuff. I'm like, but it works. So Sean has the Terminator tattooed on his chest. Ladies, he's all mine. Look at that. When I first met him and I saw him naked, I was like, what's happening? So step number 2 is lean in and get uncomfortable. It's one one of the greatest lessons I've learned. How many times have you gotten uncomfortable and you shy away and you just like suppress it, ignore it, it didn't happen, you don't want to deal with it, but it always finds a way of resurfacing and coming back up. So what I learned is when I get uncomfortable, that's a good thing. Turn it into a positive. Change the way you think. I think, okay, this is a learning moment. This is a teaching moment. This means I'm about to grow and I'm about to expand. So we lean into the uncomfortable. Yeah, I do now. I never used to.
Because there's like, I never thought like that.
Yeah.
When it got uncomfortable for me, I drank. When it got uncomfortable, I got high.
But that's part of ignoring and suppressing.
Yeah, but it's also part of not learning. I had real anger issues, and I never knew how to properly express my anger. Like somebody would do something to me, and I could never say to them, you know what, that really bothered me. I'm the type of guy who stuffed it all down, and then one day I just would explode. And it's, I know I'm stereotyping here, but most men are taught to deal with it, figure it out, get your shit together, and move on. And that's kind of what I did. I put this mask on of everything was fine. So when I had to sit down in recovery and talk to her about how I felt as a man, like, are you kidding me right now? But it was hard, and that was so uncomfortable. Sometimes I still find that it gets hot right here for me. When anger comes up, it gets hot right here.
He goes like this, I'm starting to sweat. And that's how I know when we're about to have like a serious talk, he's like, okay, he's getting uncomfortable. And I like that because I know he's going to talk about his feelings. Ladies, that's all we ever want, right? Is our boys to talk about their feelings.
So leaning into it and trying to do that, and knowing you're not going to be like taken advantage of, was new to me for a long time. But it's really helped.
The next step is to ask for help. So when we got married, we did the, stay at home, have a family and friends and everybody there. But our dream was we love Elvis. So we were like, we want to go get married in a chapel in Vegas by Elvis. So when we went to Palooza about, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, we did that. We booked the chapel. So this was us getting married. And Elvis, he kept going out of character. It was crazy. He's like, my brother's name is Sean. I'm like, no, it's not.
He kept touching her and feeling her up, and she's like,
yeah, I was touching my butt. I'm like,
I don't care. I don't care. It's Elvis. Just you care. It's Elvis. Keep going.
That's Vegas. It was fun. But ask for help. This is the biggest one, is you have to ask for help. And so many of my friends, when I was going through that with him, tried to help. But if you're not affected by drugs and alcohol, you can't. It's really hard to help somebody because you've never been through it. So it's really important just to ask people that have either been through it or to go to local groups and communities.
So I started going to AA 9 years ago, and that was huge. That was a big game changer for me. There was people in there who were much older than me, and they were telling me my story. They would be up here talking, and I'd be sitting back there, and I'm like, oh my God, that guy's telling my exact story. And I would just, wow, how did you get up there and talk so openly about that? And that was huge for me, and that started the uncomfortable, being able to open up and share by listening to someone else. And even today, that's still as soon as I got into Calgary Thursday, I looked for AA meetings, and I went to one on Thursday night. Here in Calgary. My best thinking got me to where I was. So obviously, I have to use somebody else's thinking.
So I couldn't really leave the house because my kids were so little, and part of where he went for his rehabilitation, they had an telephone, because back then the internet wasn't what it was today, so we had to do 3 or 4 way calls. So they had an Al-Anon group, which is a fantastic group for people that are affected by alcoholism, and so it was just women getting on the phone and telling their stories. I would have random women. So when word got out what was happening with him in AA, the members there, they started calling their friends in Al-Anon, and then randomly my phone would ring, and a woman would call and be like, hey, you don't know me, but I kind of heard what's going on with you, and I just thought I'd share my story and tell you what I went through, because maybe you'll find comfort in it. And it was crazy that it did, because when you're, taking care of all these kids and changing diapers and doing all the things, and no one around you's been through what you have been, you feel shameful. and you're afraid of what people are going to think about you and what your next step is. So there is comfort, and that's why it's so important, you guys, to share your stories. That's why I love these events, hearing everybody's stories on stage, because you're going to take away something small or maybe something big from everything everybody that's been on this stage this weekend has said, and it's going to change you and empower you in some way. So it's really important. You might not think your story is important. It is the most important story you will ever tell in your life.
Yeah,
so it's important.
And it takes time. Like, if you would have told me at 6 months of sobriety, I'd be up here sharing my story with you about my family, I'm like, you are insane.
Yeah.
You are absolutely insane. Right? I was really scared, but now, like she said, it takes some time.
Look how cute we are. It was freezing that day. I couldn't feel my toes. So what happens when you do family photos in November in Canada. But patience is a big one. I'm red and I'm an Enneagram 3, and I'm just like, you guys learned about that yesterday. You know, it's like, go. I don't want to hear the fluff. I just want to know the things. And he's a green, and he's an Enneagram 9, and he takes forever to tell a story. So,
Gotta think about it.
so I've learned patience because, you know, I've had to. But good things take time. And, you know, I could have totally walked away from him. When all that stuff was happening, so many of my friends, their advice to me was like, girl, what are you doing? Get out. And I just had so much hope because I knew the man that I married, that I fell in love with, I knew he was under there somewhere. And I always had hope that he would come back to me. And I just never let that go. And at that time, you know, when that was happening, I didn't really believe in God either. And so I didn't have a faith to lean on, and I just had parents that had very, very high expectations of me. And I'm a rule follower, so I was like, I have to do this because the right thing is you get married, you stay married, you do things, and I didn't want to fail. And that's what got me through. And it might not have been the right thing at the time, but it's the thing that kept me there. And I stayed for the kids. That might have been the wrong thing too, but the kids, it's not for me. I know it's not for me, but sometimes when you say those things, people are like, don't stay for the kids, that's not good for them. But I was scared. At the end of the day, I was just scared. So patience is a virtue. I'm so grateful for patience because, you know.
Well, and I had to learn that too, you know. I wanted 10 years of sobriety in 3 months. You know,
you go to AA and come home and be like, that sucks. Like, what are you expecting? You know?
When you want the pain to be over, you want it to end, like right now. I want to go get my coffee from Tim Hortons, and I want to get it, and I want to be better. Right? It takes time, lots of practice. You know, I have sponsees who are like that now. They want what I have now. I giggle. Same way that my sponsor giggled at me.
Now he's the old guy at the meetings telling the young guys that are coming in, like all the things that the guys are saying to him. He's like, did I just say that? It's like when you hear yourself say the things your parents said to you growing up, you're like, turning into my mother, right? So step 5 is to remember that it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to get done. This is like one of my favorite sayings because I am a recovering perfectionist. I wouldn't do things because if I couldn't do it perfect, it wasn't worth it, and that holds you back from so many things, especially in business. I remember having a huge pile of papers in my office that I wouldn't file because my file folders weren't pretty enough and weren't labeled with a labeler, right? Like, it's crazy, the stupid little things that hold you back, but this saying literally changed my life, and I constantly remind myself of it. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to get done. So, you know, if you're afraid to go Facebook Live or to do a post or whatever it is because it's not perfect, who cares? Post. All these amazing people we see online now, if you go way, way back to the beginning, their posts are not pretty. They're not great. That developed over time, so it's really amazing. If you think about what you have now that you wished for 10 years ago, and you have it now, isn't that amazing? That's an incredible thing. So whatever you're hoping or dreaming of in the next 5 or 10 years, you're going to have those things. It's going to take patience.
We also, like, when we were younger, right, and we had our kids, and we were starting to develop our relationship. When I was in recovery a couple of years, and we wanted to get out and go for date night, it was really difficult. But we found a way to get out, go do it. It looked kind of messy and sloppy, but we still needed that time together in order to talk, to communicate, you know. to talk about feelings.
Gratitude. If you are not living in gratitude every single day, you're missing out on so many amazing things. I'm not a journaler, but when my dad died, I had to just kind of reevaluate things. And so I started meditating every day. I started gratitude journaling. Sean does it. He's very consistent with it. So, you know, I don't do it perfectly. I do it what works for me, but gratitude every day, saying thank you, has literally changed my life. And it can change yours too. So one of my favorite oils, or two of my favorite oils that I use when I'm doing gratitude, is Believe and Abundance. So I will put those on with intention. I put Believe on top of my head, and in my journal I will write 7 times every single day. There's 3 things that I write that are important to me, and I do it every single day. Put the oil on and I write, I am an exceptional wife, because that's what I want to be. If I'm an exceptional wife, that means I'm an exceptional mother, and everything is going to be wonderful in our house. I have $1 million in my bank account, because with more money I can help more people. And I only fly first class, you guys. So I do that, and at the beginning I didn't believe any of that stuff, but I'll tell you, doing that, I definitely think you can tell them, have I become more of an exceptional wife?
Nothing like being put on the spot.
You have 2 choices.
Yes.
Answer right and answer no.
You're kind of recording with your phone, like this is not good.
But
Yes,
gratitude.
she's great. She's an exceptional wife. Hold on, the gratitude day. When I started recovery, it was suggested to me to start a gratitude list every single day. And I was struggled with that. And I'm like, what do I got to be grateful for? You know, when an old guy comes up to me, he's like, you're still breathing, aren't you? And I'm like, yeah, that's a good point, you know. But if the only prayer you ever say in your entire life is thanks, that's good enough. That's enough gratitude right there.
And every day I write down 5 things I'm grateful for in the last 24 hours. And then I'll take it a step further and write down 2 reasons for each. And the reason why I do it in the last 24 hours is because it actually forces me to look at the things that are happening right in this moment and be more present. And it's so much greater than, you know, oh, I'm grateful for this food I'm eating and this roof over my head. I'm grateful that guy held the door open for me today when my hands were full. I'm grateful for Sean shoveling the snow for me to get to my car. And sometimes a lot of the times we take that stuff for granted. So that's the part of gratitude where you just dive in and do it a little bit deeper every day, and it really does make a difference. So doing whatever you choose to do, doing it for you and not for anybody else. Because for years, I lived for everybody else. I talked the way people expected me to, because I'm a rule follower, right? And so with his sobriety and his addiction, one of the things that a really good friend of ours actually was a counselor at the rehabilitation center that he went to. So he really kind of took me under his wing and helped me through that time. And he had said to me, you need to take care of you, regardless of what happens to him, regardless if you ever see him again, if he starts drinking again, whatever it is, you need to take care of you, because you have 4 children that need you. But also, if he never gets better, you're still going to be on the right track. You know, because for so long I lived for him. I was that, you know, the good housewife and doing all the things that I grew up in a house believing that we were supposed to do. So I learned that I needed to fill my cup first so that I could fill other people's cups.
That also applies to me when I started recovery. I could not get sober for her, or for the kids, or for my parents, for a job, or whatever it was. I had to get sober because it was for me. And once step 1, once I made that decision, this was for me, things took off.
Consistency really is the key with anything that you do in life. So it's really easy to try something once or twice. It doesn't turn out the way you wanted to and you give up. But that's when we need to push forward and really just keep consistently doing it. So one of the things that I did that really helped was I spoke life over my spouse. So I heard this somewhere, and we were still kind of rocky. Like, he was sober, but you guys, our life, even now, it's not as bad. But I still call it a roller coaster, because when things are extreme, like in a regular relationship, it's like they're bad. But like when you're in a relationship where there's been addiction, it's extreme. It's extreme highs and extreme lows, and it's really hard to deal with. sometimes. So we just found consistently doing certain things were helpful. So talking, dating, going on a date every week, that kind of stuff. But I spoke life over to him, and you can do this if you're in a relationship or you're married now. You could do this now, even if you're happily married, and it's amazing. It was a huge turning point for us. So I actually hated him at the time. If you asked me what I thought, I would have told you, like, I do not like this man because I had so much resentments and I hadn't forgiven him yet. So I started speaking life over him. So every single day I would give him a genuine compliment. It would be something like, thank you so much for doing the dishes. I really appreciate that. It saves me so much time.
Too right away. I was like, what are you doing?
Or like, you look really good in that shirt, or whatever it was. But yeah, after about 2 weeks he noticed. But the crazy thing was he started mirroring what I was doing. So he started doing it back to me. And that was a huge thing, and it was just, I think it's really like just showing appreciation for the people that you care about, because we forget to do that. We get into the hustle and bustle of everyday life.
So addiction is all about isolation. That's what the main point of it. Addicts, alcoholics want to isolate so they can have their drug of choice and be alone with it. The opposite of that is how do I say this? Is like being connected with people, connectedness. So I believe that for me, God is watching me through all of your eyes, and He gives me cues on how I'm doing with how my interactions with you. So consistency, if I'm consistent with my actions with all of you, trying to do good things, I'm going in the right direction of my higher power and what I'm supposed to do every day. So it's really important that I can stay connected with the people around me. Because it's really easy at times to start to pull back and want to completely isolate.
Forgiveness is hard. We don't want to do it. I didn't want to forgive him because it was my way of staying in control of something I couldn't control. But, the thing that I've learned is when you can forgive somebody, and that's not saying what they did was right or wrong, that it's okay what they did to you. You're just forgiving them so that you can release that burden off of you, and you can move on and move forward. And I don't know if I've forgiven them 100%, to be quite honest. It's something I work on every single day, but I think it's probably one of the biggest things that we as humans struggle with in any relationship.
I never truly forgave my parents. When my dad died, I got to sit down with them, but there was still that little tiny piece of me that just held on to that for a little bit. My mom's still alive, she's sober. It's still, the relationship is not the same. That's all I can say about it. It's not the same.
One saying I heard the other day, which was really great, was giving up the hope that the past will be any different. That's true forgiveness. So there's 3 different ways that we've kind of learned to process the hurt. So it's to talk about the hurt, to say you're sorry, and then to actually forgive the person. Step 10 is lead with love. And I think the biggest problem that we face today is not sharing and giving enough love to people. And I remember my grandpa used to always say to me, when you see people walking by, you don't even have to talk to them, just send them love. Just constantly send love to people, because, that is so powerful and it sends a great energy.
My grandma would say to me when we had our new kids, she would see me sit there holding them, and she'd say, you can't love them enough. It will not be possible for you to love this kid enough for the rest of your life. And I still hold on to that because it's true. And it's not just about my children, it's about the people around me. Because people around you are going to push your buttons. You got to try and send them love.
Yeah, and you'll attract what you are. So if you start leading with love first, then you will attract those people into your life that do the same thing, and you are like the 5 people you spend the most time with. So take an inventory and think about, are these my people? Is this my tribe? Is this how I want to act? It's important. Love keeps no records of wrongs. I love this verse. Do you want to say something here?
Yeah, I gotta.
He's going to talk about diapers.
So when we had our kids, I was
spit it out. This is where I'm like, tell the story.
The smell of shit was unbearable in the 3 kids. And I'm newly sober, and she's doing Young Living events. She's not home, and I'm really struggling to be sober and a parent, and I don't know what to do. And I have a sponsor in AA, and I'm calling this guy 20 times a day. Like, what do I do now? I don't know what to do now, right? And he relates this shitty diaper thing to resentment. And so I'm called up one day, and I'm like, I don't know what the issue was. It didn't really matter, but I'm like, I got this thing, I can't deal with it. And he's like, hold on. He goes, do you ever notice that when your kids, when they shit their diaper, they're like, do they come to you right away? I'm like, what? What the hell does this have to do with anything? He goes, just answer the question. He's like, do they come to you right away? I'm like, I don't think so. He goes, why? He goes, I don't know why. He goes, because it's nice and warm and it feels comfortable. It feels comfortable. And I'm like, okay, what's this got to do with my point right now? Like, I'm dealing with me. He goes, they come to you when it starts to get cold and it burns their skin, right? It starts to itch, it's hurting. He goes, you ever notice you call me with your resentment after it's been burning your skin for a while? I'm like, he goes, yeah, you got a real resentment you're not dealing with. But you love how it feels at certain times because it gives you control. I did not like that one bit. You know, I got still the same sponsor, and he still reminds me of that. And the resentment was against my parents. You know, I just did not know how to let go of it. And even now, with 9 years sobriety, I'm going to counseling for it. Because I'm trying to still let go of it. I'm trying to completely let go. I have this reading in here. Just give me a second.
We don't have time. Next.
Okay.
He'll post it on his Facebook and Instagram for you guys. So here's some tools for recovery when affected by addiction. So attending support groups, asking for help, get a sponsor. Really important. Praying, meditating.
Prayer, meditation, gratitude journaling, create a community. That's huge. Surround yourself with people who are headed in the same direction you want to go. Become physically active. Absolutely. That was huge for me. I used to work out before we had children. And then I stopped because I thought it was more important for me to be at home, taking care of the kids. And then once we had our 4th child,
it looked like he ate the baby.
I looked like an actual. We actually had 5 kids. I ate But I wanted to start exercising again because it made me feel good. Exercise in my side of the family has always been really big, really important. You know, and to keep that going is really huge. Use YL essential oils with intention. Important key right here, with intention. I just put them on before. Good. Didn't ever think to like, what do I want out of putting this oil on? What do I hope to get out of this? What do I hope to achieve? Right? It's always about being mindful. Help others. This is the only way I get to stay sober today, because everything that I got, I have to give it all away. Help somebody else who's suffering with this. And that the reward of that has been so big for me. Right? To watch somebody's the light come down on their eye again, because you're pretty sure it's done. I had that moment in my life where I'm like, this is the way it's going to be forever. I'm going to die like this. You know? And to see that in somebody else and the magic come back on and a family come back together is so rewarding. I love that. Clean house, 12 steps.
Doing them.
Doing the 12 steps. You can't just talk about it. I like to say that recovery is not for somebody that wants it or needs it. Recovery is for people that do it. You go do it. Stop talking about it. Stop talking about getting sober because I don't want to hear that shit. Because that was me. Maybe tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. No, you're going to do it now or you're not going to do it at all. And it's all about body, mind, and spirit. You gotta do all three things. I grew up in a home where religion was pummeled down my throat. And when I started recovery, there was this lack of God and spirituality. And I struggled so hard with that. Really, really.
What do you say God stands for?
Gift of desperation. I was given the gift of desperation August 18, 2010. And I'll never forget that. I actually carry a medallion in my pocket that I keep with me everywhere I go. My sponsor says it's like, you can put it in your mouth and when it melts, you can have a drink again. It's made out of metal. It won't happen.
So here's the tools that I have for a strong marriage when you're infected by someone that has an addiction. So number one, if you are in a relationship with someone and you are being hurt and your safety is at stake, you need to get out now. So I'm just gonna say that right up front. For us, it was setting boundaries and then sticking to them. And he had a list of 10 things that I came up with my counselor friend. And when he came home, he had to follow those 10 rules, or there were 10 rules. And if he broke one, I was done. No questions asked. He knew it was done, and he still carries that around in his wallet. Yeah, because I had to set boundaries for me. So weekly date nights, we are very, very consistent with this.
Time's up.
That's like crazy. Weekly date nights, and sometimes we couldn't go out, sometimes we couldn't afford to go out, so we would put the kids to bed and sit in the living room and talk, or do something like that. So it doesn't have to cost anything. Speaking life onto your partner, which I talked about every day for a month, try it, see how it works for you.
And don't speak negative life onto your partner.
What'd you say?
Don't speak negative life onto your partner.
No, it's gonna be positive.
Yeah.
Pray with and for one another. Counseling and marriage course. So there's lots of free marriage courses out there if you're involved in your church. There's tons of counseling out there. You can find it. If you want it bad enough, you will find a way. Tell your story. It's so important. Read the 5 love languages. That book is, I put it right up there with the Enneagrams because it teaches you your partner's love language. So my love language is the gift of time. And for Sean, it's words of affirmation and physical touch. And
who here's read the book?
Oh, good. Yes,
Wow.
it's great. So that really helps strengthen our marriage as well because he used to buy me cut flowers and I hated it because I'm like, don't waste my money on cut flowers. They die in less than a week. And you listen to the ladies, they're like, yeah. I'm like, don't do it. But it was his love language, right? He liked to give me gifts. And so I just, explained to him one day, then we read this book. He couldn't understand where it was coming from, and I couldn't understand where he was coming from. We read this book, and I remember the very next Mother's Day, he bought me flowers, but he bought me tulips that I could go and replant outside that we could spend time together and do. So he was helping me with my love language while still filling his. And then I learned that he needs words of affirmation, so I was always, telling him how grateful I was for him and how much I appreciated him, and it just made all the difference in the world. Communicate every single day. He doesn't like it, and I make him do it, and it's just better. Because even if he goes like 3 days without talking to me, I can tell. When your partner needs to talk about something and they don't want to, and it's uncomfortable, and you feel like you're pulling teeth sometimes, pull the teeth.
How many women in here have a spouse or better half that their spouse loves to talk about their emotions?
Never give up hope.
Good for you. I need to be.
Never give up hope. The other day, so I've dove really hard into my faith journey. I found God last year at Diamond Bound. You got to go to that event. It's amazing. And it's just changed my life. And we found this incredible church that we've been going to. And he's really struggling because of how he was raised in a home with God. I was pushed on him, and so he said, you got to get over the fact that I'm never going to believe in God the way that you believe in God. And I said, I'm never going to give up hope, because if I gave up hope, we wouldn't be married today. That's the thing that kept us together. So it's really important. And we also have an oil called hope, just saying, you can put down. And then forgiveness, of course. So I love this quote. It's an ULA quote. Follow the ULA guys. They're fantastic. So if you're not working on your marriage, you're working on your divorce.
Love that.
And so many times I would go to bed saying, I hate this man. I want him to die. Not joking. And I actually really meant it. now I go to bed, it's conscious language, changing the way you speak. Now I go to bed saying, I'm so grateful for this man and all the blessings that we have in our life. Wherever focus goes, energy flows.
Somebody said that today too up here. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins, love the guy.
So this was convention last year. Sean actually dove naked or half naked into that fountain. I don't know. Remember that?
There's no footage of that. It did not happen.
But this is so true. So if you're always focused on the negative, that's what you're going to attract. So you just have to keep telling yourself using I am statements and, just focusing on the good. There's always something good in everything that happens to us.
The negative is easy. It takes no work at all. Positivity takes work. You have to sit down and do something.
Yeah, I find I'm least grateful when I'm comparing myself to somebody else. So if you're looking at other married couples and you're looking at it through the eyes of jealousy and envy instead of inspiration, that can also hurt you more than help. So just, always try to see the good, be compassionate, and you never know what's going on behind closed doors with people. That's the thing we have to remember. Somebody could be going through something really horrible and treating other people horrible because of it, and it just takes one person to be kind and compassionate to change their whole life.
Nobody knew what was going on in our life.
So, I love this. I heard this the other day too. Life is God's gift to you. What you do with it is your gift to God. I want to read you something. Because I'll forget. You cannot go into a relationship or a marriage expecting the other person to make you happy. You're responsible for your own happiness. You've got to do the work on yourself so you can come into the marriage or the relationship and be 100% and be able to give that. Happiness is not always waiting for the next best thing, for the big events, for the weekend. It's what we focus on. And if we're not focusing on the present, we're really going to miss out on some really amazing times. Happiness is enjoying what God is blessing us with right now, regardless of how that looks. Living in gratitude and appreciating what you have will bring you more happiness than anything. There was a really great podcast, Super Soul Sunday with Oprah. She had Michelle Obama on. Go listen to it. It's amazing. And she was saying that, Michelle Obama was saying, if you're blessed enough to hit the 40-year mark in your marriage, and 10 of those years are hard, wouldn't you take those odds? I would. I had 10 crappy years. The rest is going to be amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we have a program coming up. So just, if you can follow us, that's where you'll see it. It's on our social media. We're going to do a 12 Days of Transformation. So it's going to be an online support group for couples or anybody that's been affected by addiction. And we're just going to dig deeper into this and talk more about it and hopefully help more people. It's private and, it's something we're really excited about. We've been working on, so that's coming. And there's the right handle. I spelled my name right on this slide. Is there anything else you want to say?
I just want to give a huge shout out to my wife. Every time we do something like this, for sticking around. Because there was many times when she could have left.
He's gonna get lucky!
And Carly, how about Carly?